All right, the final topic in chapter 6 is positioning. And of course, positioning is all about creating a reason to buy. The chapter in your book mentions positioning and talks about positioning a new brand, and then spends some time talking about repositioning. And they use the example of professional bicycling, and they talk about the fact that professional cycling has had a tough go of it due to a number of the competitors in that sport violating the drug policies concerning blood doping and other issues. And they talk about how the sport is trying to reposition itself. They don't go into any details, and they don't go into how you might go about trying to reposition the sport. And the fact of the matter is, how's that working out for the cycling business? Well, it's not, obviously. Almost all of us who follow professional cycling still believe that most of the elite cyclists are violating the rules, and that's just part of the sport. So it's not really a very good example about positioning, and they don't really spend any time talking about how you might go about establishing positioning. So I thought I would spend a little bit of time trying to go into a little bit more detail than the book did, but not going into so much detail that we get bogged down in it. All right, so positioning marketing is an organized method of getting into the consumer's mind. Your position is three things. It's the consumer's perception of your brand relative to the competition. So if you're a particular health club, or you're a particular brand of sporting goods, or if you're a particular sports team, it's the consumer's perception of your brand relative to the competition. In addition, it's what customers think of when your brand name is mentioned. So when I mention the Las Vegas Raiders, what comes to mind? When I mention the Las Vegas Golden Knights, what comes to mind? When I mention the UNLV Running Rebel basketball team, what comes to mind? So it's what customers think of when your brand name is mentioned. And then finally, the position is why customers buy your product. It is the reason or the unique selling proposition that your brand offers. So why would someone ever join EOS gyms? Or why would anyone ever buy a membership at Lifetime Fitness or 24-Hour Fitness or Family Fitness or whatever the other gyms might be? So positioning marketing is all about designing a marketing strategy to get customers to think about your product in a way that will increase their likelihood of purchase or attending or subscribing or viewing on TV. So why is positioning so important? Well, we live in an over-communicated society, and customers tend to simplify things, and so people have what we refer to as an oversimplified mind. That is, we don't remember lots of things about companies and brands, but we remember one or two things. And so customers tend to want to simplify things. The result of that oversimplification in terms of people trying to sort the environment in which they live out is the need for an oversimplified message. So think about your position as a one-sentence sales campaign. The basic ideas, well, first off, how much do you think the average customer knows about each product? The answer is no, less than that. Understand that competition's position is as important as yours. That is, your position in the customer's mind relative to the competition is based on how they perceive you, but it's also how they perceive the competition. Third, perception is reality in the mind of the consumer. That means that if consumers believe that your brand is inferior, then that's the way it is. Even if it's not inferior, if customers believe it's that way, then it is that way, at least in their minds. So perception is reality in the mind of the consumer. Next, you can't appeal to everybody. You can't be everything to everybody. So it's more important that you position yourself to be something very specific that people want with a particular group of customers. Next, consistency of position is the key. If you want to establish a position and maintain it, you have to be consistent over time. In addition, some positions are not obtainable. For instance, the position of high quality and low cost simply doesn't resonate with customers because customers know that things that cost more are better, or at least that's a heuristic that they live by. They don't think that a car that costs $10,000 can be as good as a car that costs $50,000. And as a result, there are certain positions that people just don't believe exist. And one of the key ideas when we do positioning is to understand how we are factually different. Not in terms of unobservables, but in facts. Many years ago, Burger King came up with this advertising campaign against McDonald's. And of course, at Burger King, all of their burgers are flame broiled. They go down this conveyor belt and there's this gas burner, and so all of their hamburgers are flame broiled. At McDonald's, the hamburgers are grilled. And so Burger King came up with this ad campaign that said, people like flame broiled hamburgers better than they like fried hamburgers. And therefore, people like Burger King better than McDonald's. And it was a very successful campaign. And one of the reasons it was a very successful campaign was because people could observe it. They could see that some burgers were flame broiled and some were fried. Now McDonald's tried to get around that by saying their burgers weren't fried, but they were grilled in their own natural juices, which basically means then that they are fried. All right, and the reason that campaign was successful because it was a factually different item that they were comparing each other on. The easiest way to establish position is to be first. The second easiest way to establish position is to be second. The third easiest way is to be third. The hardest way, of course, is to be last. And then finally, focus on one idea, one statement, one word, or one concept. Don't try to make things too complicated. Keep it simple. Once again, you can't be everything to everybody, therefore you can't appeal to everyone. The solution is to identify a group of customers with special wants and needs and then focus on satisfying them. So now it's your turn. Let's let you try this. You can try this with any product, but assume that you're the marketing consultant that has been hired by Fitness 19 to position the franchise in this crowded Las Vegas market. And I have a little note here about Fitness 19, and you can go ahead and read it. Fitness 19 was founded in 2003. They started Fitness 19 to give customers more of what they really wanted out of a fitness membership. The result is a simple fitness club concept, extremely affordable, yada, yada, yada. All right, so the question is, how would you position Fitness 19 in this crowded Las Vegas market? Well, first, you'd write down the benefits offered. And then you'd ask yourself, how is Fitness 19 factually different from the other health clubs in town? And what customer segments are are these benefits likely to appeal to? Why would someone buy a membership at Fitness 19? And then you need to write down the possible one-sentence unique selling propositions for your product. All right, and then for each unique selling proposition, list the associations you would use to signal that position. And you'll notice as you go to do this that this turns out to be much harder than it first appears. But it is all about establishing a one-sentence marketing campaign in the mind of the customer that creates a reason to buy.